Allahu Akbar. Sorry.
We are alive to save
Ruin
children.
my awesome intro.
All right.
I was about to say
We are
TikTok
alive
time to rock, and
save
then
the children. All right. Okay.
okay. Apparently, Young Bob and AP are having a contest to see who can most effectively ruin my intro, and they're both.
Hey, before we go live, let me. Oh yeah, we're live. Okay.
Sorry, say that again.
Hey, Young Bob.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Hey, everyone out there. If you're not familiar with Young Bob because he's in a different country, you should be familiar with Young Bob. We've got AP here, the Turkish Terror. We got me,
That's
Dizzle.
nice.
And we've got Young Bob. And hey, Young Bob, right before we went live, I checked out the comments from people before we start, and I forget who said it. Oh yeah. English style Cool Beans said. Oh, and if it's English style Cool Beans, that's definitely someone in the UK. Because people don't know about that you guys eat beans over there for breakfast. But anyway, English style Cool Beans said, Young Bob has the potential to be the Charlie Kirk replacement. And it's interesting because that's exactly what I was thinking the other day. I was trying to think, because people are like, who's going to replace Charlie? And everyone's like, we're going to continue the work. And I'm just thinking of like who. I was thinking you'd have to actually Frankenstein together a replacement. In other words, someone who replaces like this part of him and someone who replaces like this part of him and this part of him. Like on political stuff, there are guys who can do the political stuff like Ben Shapiro, even though he wouldn't be allowed, according to Candace Owens. The religious stuff, there are basically preachers who've been doing this on campuses for years, like Frank Turek. But the guy's like 1,000,000 years old, right? And that Cliff Connectley, he's like 1,000,000 years old too. So you got these guys, these guys are super, super, super old. And I'm not just making fun of them. I'm too old. I'm too old at this point.
Yeah.
And one of the amazing things about Charlie was he got the young people. He got the young people excited to listen to what he was saying and so on. So sitting there thinking, it's like, okay, there are people who could do the political stuff. There are people who could do the religious stuff, but who's there that could just be like one person? And I couldn't think of anyone. And I was thinking, wait a minute, Young Bob. He's 17. He covers all this stuff. He will sit there and go toe to toe with Muslims, with atheists. He'll speak on all the political issues and stand his ground. And most amazingly, he's 17 years old. He's 17, which means you still have a lot of years.
Hey, Young Bob,
experience that you can gain. What's that?
Young Bob, do you know the song Dancing Queen?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Every ABBA song was about someone being 17.
Yeah, okay. So on that note, it's interesting because in the UK especially, because there's only a selective few of individuals who actually knew Charlie Kirk, actually had a relationship with him professionally, there seems to be a lot of opportunists this side of the pond. Just people who never really heard of him or really engaged in his content. Then suddenly, because his platform is almost empty, everyone's just going to kind of fill it up with as much political and kind of saturate the market with low value discussions. Now, for myself, I always think that firstly, if we were to look at the wife of Charlie Kirk, I imagine they would be incredibly disenfranchised by the fact that idiots online are saying, hey, look, I'm the 2.0 of your husband. I wouldn't appreciate that if that was my wife. So, I'm going to kind of leave that title. If people want to say that is myself, that's absolutely fine. But just imagining being the wife of someone to then hear this 17-year-old is going to replace your husband is incredibly wrong. And also, of course, I'm my own individual. I know I'm called Young Bob, but of course,
you're
I'll
literally
take
named
everything.
after someone else. They
I
literally
know,
named you
but
after
that's
someone
not
else.
my
So you got
problem.
in other words, that's your thing. You get named after other people.
It doesn't mean I am them, though. Do I seem like?
I didn't say you were
particularly
going to be
that
him.
white?
I didn't say you were literally going to be him.
Yeah. So like, I take a lot of. It's a bunch of coincidences, right? So even now, I formed my own company called Crossing Corner, which is an organization. I've just relaunched it now because as soon as I launched it, I was made homeless. So it was kind of interesting trying to make material for the site. And the plan was just to do church events, do church outreach in schools. Because I'm becoming more political as well, and it has a lot of functionality to make news articles, I have relaunched it with both politics and religion in mind. And of course, I do work for his UK organization, Turning Point UK, as their youth ambassador, in which I do youth outreach. I think quite famously.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit? What do you do as youth ambassador? And matter of fact, please back up a little bit and just tell us like what the connection is, Turning Point UK with Turning Point USA. Is that like have they only so they expanded to the UK? Have they expanded other places, or just the UK or something like that? But it's definitely, it was spawned by Turning Point in the US and then took off.
It actually spawned by Charlie, because the rest of people in Turning Point USA were solely dedicated to getting Trump elected. So Charlie saw the founder of Turning Point UK offered to franchise with Charlie. Charlie thought it was a great, interesting idea. Apparently, even the Queen backed Charlie Kirk from forming a youth grassroots organization for young people. And he kind of just allowed us to kind of grow and continue. Originally, 6 years ago, when our organization was founded, we were doing universities. I've even engaged with some university campaigns. That's kind of one of my roles. So what had happened is 6 years ago, we were given the franchise by Charlie Kirk. Charlie did a tour of UK universities. And because, of course, he has the name, he was able to get venues and events. Unfortunately, firstly, we had David Lammy, an MP, an elected official in Parliament. Before we even launched, he labelled our organisation as far right. We were censored on both Facebook, on X, so we had no mainstream outreach. Then secondly, because universities work different to the US counterpart, that being that's public property and anyone can set up a stand. Instead, in the UK, we work on a system where it's privately owned, it's private land, and in order to get on campus, you have to be part of a student union society, and that's incredibly difficult. Whenever we do those, the application takes far too long, and whenever we try to host events of other student university societies, like Christian or conservative ones, they either the top presidents or whatnot, they completely reject it because it's too controversial, and they get Antifa beating them up and harassing them, or university officials just block it at every stage. So we were semi-successful, and what we used to do is just be very sly, find the boundaries of the universities and do the stands at the entrances where it is public property that we were getting beaten the shit out of. And we didn't have the security like the US guys do, quite buff guys. We were just by ourselves, so we were getting beaten the crap out of us. We weren't used to it at all. And of course, because of our name, the name didn't really, it wasn't in line with the experience and also we had done as individuals. So for my role as youth ambassador, it's to do youth outreach. It's to also canvass in universities, set up chapters. I actually, the first time I was ever offered the position, it was off the cusp of going to the University of Sussex, and I debated with a professor of philosophy there, and it was just randomly on an underpass that I started speaking to him on transgenderism, and he started calling me this crazy dog fascist, this gender dogmatist, and I was like, hey, calm down. And it got viral on Twitter instantly, and it was me trying to transfer and translate Speaker's Corner debate, gentleman debating style to politics, and it went incredibly well. So off the cusp of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we're going to take the beat-ups, we're going to take the threats to violence, and we're just going to continue. I've already done stands for Turning Point UK at Camden Town, where a bunch of the anarcho-communists kind of lay, and I've also done it with a bunch of other like liberal student areas. But we actually are going to professionalize ourselves and go to the student union societies. We've, of course, more of a protest organization currently. We got very popular for going against the drag time, story time hours. We actually got a lot of them blocked here in the UK because, again, American politics isn't the same in the UK. People think drag is this commodity. They think it's leisure. It's not really discounted. We don't really have this culture war like you do in the States. There is one, but it isn't towards the exact same things. So unfortunately, a lot of the fights that we could have right now, which we tried to instigate, it was just we had too fierce of an opposition, but we don't care anymore. There was an 18-year-old who got sent in hospital with several lost teeth because we tried to do a counter campaign of the Marxist festival here in London, and it was a professor, and nothing has happened to him.
Now let's go ahead and I have a video clip. This is of you. This is from Turning Point UK's Twitter page. But they posted this.
Because of the Labour Party and their liberal policies at college, I've been threatened to be put on prevent. 31% of prevent's referrals are due to far-right extremism. What they consider far-right extremism is cultural nationalism. Admiring one's culture is a form of far-right extremism. Last year, a study done by the UK government found that content such as The Thick of It could be a sign of radicalisation. A show by the BBC that mocks the right class in politics. Ironically, they want to extend the definition of far right for us to all be arrested and sent as political prisoners. In the case of, for example, Tommy Robinson. We should be allowed to talk about whatever we want, as long as it does not incite threats or violence. But they also want to facilitate Islam, which does everything to that to people like me. Young people have lost their religious identity with the bureaucrats at the Church of England. They've also lost their family with the sexual degeneracy, which is the far left. And now they're losing their politics. They're losing their ability to speak. And for patriots, I want to call all on to you to fight. For you to gain a political voice and for you to also join a religious class. We need to go back to traditional conservatism.
Interestingly, that was the first time I ever publicly spoke. That was like
Really?
during the that was the first time I did a political speech. I was on a stage, just like an elevator platform. That's why I had my phone, and I just noticed that any public speaker out there, honestly, don't use a phone for notes. It's ridiculous. You believe psychologically that you then have to rely on things when it's in your head or your heart or whatever poetic language you want to use there. But yeah, that was the first time I spoke. First time I ever done like political speeches, and then from there I've kind of went off from it. But I stand towards, and actually I haven't really looked back on that. It's actually quite well put.
I have to say, I mean, for your first speech, it's not the worst speech that I've heard.
Yeah, it was way better than AP's speech at that Turning Point thing.
Yeah.
AP
Which was
like,
the worst speech?
AP stands up and he's like, I'm just very nervous to be here. Can I get some water? It was really terrible. Whereas you're just there spitting hot fire. It is weird that like, so I grew up, I was born in 76, but, so grew up in the, as a kid in the 80s and then, and then finishing high school and stuff in the 90s and then, went to prison and so on. But, in the stuff in the 80s, everyone was basically, taught to be patriotic. You were in school. You're talking 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. You were sitting there singing, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I know the words because they taught it to us when we were young. And now, basically everything, saying if you pledge allegiance to the flag, if you sing proud to be an American, now all that stuff is just considered far right. What was basic education in the 1980s is now far-right extremism in various places, and in the UK apparently. If you're like, hey, I love my country and I want to see it preserved and so on, and not burned to the ground and not become a Sharia-compliant hellhole, you are a far-right extremist, and they need to crack down on you. And that's what they've been doing, both at Speaker's Corner and apparently elsewhere. So before we continue, I got a clip that was on your channel about you being arrested a couple days ago. But before we go into that, why don't you tell us? You've already talked about this in a previous live stream, but just for anyone who's who didn't see the last one, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Speaker's Corner? Because now it just seems like every time you show up to have a discussion with any one of the Dawa guys, they instantly start calling the police to come and take you away.
Yeah, so this is becoming a common theme now. So harassment understood within the laws in the UK is just more than one point of contact across more than one occasion. Now, if you are a listed speaker within Speaker's Corner, i.e. you're going to engage with anyone on the topic that you're promoting at the park, of course you're going to have, with other speakers of the opposing topic, more than one point of contact across more than one occasion. They've noticed this, and apparently the police have told me they have been doing like reports every single week until a point where the police have to address it. So Paul Williams, the famous gay Muslim who made a blogging theology post that I got him to delete because I keep on embarrassing his Islamic colleagues to a point where he was just peer pressured into deleting it.
17-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, he goes for that sort of a class of men anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it doesn't really matter. So point being,
to each his own. To each his own. In Islam.
So he kept on the police told me this. It was like they came up to me. It's like, straight up, you're getting investigated for harassment. I was like, why? And he was like, well, he's been spending every single week reporting you for harassment and causing alarm and distress. I was like, really? Turns out I haven't spoken to him in months. And every single week, like religiously, this man's just been reporting me, even when he hasn't seen me.
This is Paul Williams?
He's so butthurt. Yeah, but Paul Williams is so butthurt.
Don't talk about Paul Williams being butthurt, man.
Yeah, no, he's so butthurt by the clientele of men that he apostated for, and also the 17-year-old who's been giving him flack for liking it. So my issue is this, Paul. You were the first Islamic speaker I ever spoke to on camera about Tawheed, about one God, right? And how they should, and for whatever reason, you're now fixated on the one God transition to there should be two men in a marriage, and you think that's compatible with Islam. It's mental. Like, this guy was at a Dawah conference, and he started weirdly saying how he's obsessed with Speaker's Corner and how Speaker's Corner is toxic. So it just seems like he's sexually kinky, like across the board, because he considers like Speaker's Corner to be this like area of harm for himself, and for whatever reason he's obsessed with it, especially when he's publicly humiliated by both his Islamic colleagues and by me. But yeah, they keep on reporting me for harassment. It got to a point where when I was trying to go to Hashim about the Muhammad hijab messages, they kicked me out of Speaker's Corner for no reason. The police officer who actually did that, someone sent me a message about how they got to deal with him at their door, and it was for a similar offense between a Muslim and a Christian. And it seems like he's a Muslim and he favors Muslim police officers. And whenever I've had interactions with police, it seems like whenever Muslims report two other Muslim colleagues, they seem to expedite or also increase the punishment that I could possibly receive. Again, if you want to doubt Trump's claim that Sadiq Khan and other Islamic people within the system are not trying to make the UK Sharia compliant, you only need to go against it in order to see it. However, they kicked me out of the park once, and guys, you ripping the Quran, you've got it all wrong. Laying down on prayer mats, it won't get you killed. And you know, it got them stopped praying for like 5 weeks at the front of Speaker's Corner.
Yeah. What was that about? Because you walked out, so they kicked you out of the park, and then you went on the prayer mat. What were those prayer mats there for? That they have prayer mats there?
Yeah. So the Christians, in my honest opinion, have been taking liberties at Speaker's Corner for the longest amount of time, and the kind of understanding behind that is just because they can do their form of evangelism whilst the others can do theirs. For me, that's flawed thinking, just because Islam is a parasite in whatever society kind of fosters in. And if you kind of give them an inch, they'll take the whole mile, especially with radicalization. So I've always been a destructive element. And of course, the police haven't really responded well to that. However, at the front of Speaker's Corner, the entrance is not considered part of Hyde Park, where Speaker's Corner is. It's literally just, it's kind of an indent, an entrance to the corner, and they've got prayer on one side for women, on the other side for men. I did the Our Father prayer. I whispered the Nicene Creed, and then I just literally laid down on it, and I started telling fellow Muslims, I'm riding Aladdin's magic carpet
Very,
to Allah.
very based.
I was literally like lay down like this. And then they couldn't get me done because I was citing how this could potentially be obstructing a public highway, which is a criminal offense, and also refusing to let go because none of them could prove that they own the mats themselves. Yeah.
Very,
Yeah, that's all on video, everyone. That's all on video. You can look up young Bob praying on the Muslim prayer mats outside Speaker's Corner after they kicked you out. So just to be clear, Paul Williams is obsessed with calling the police on you.
Yeah, he's also
Okay.
obsessed with just men in general, so I think he's just got a problem.
No, I mean seriously, like, because it sounds like you mentioned that when you first talked. You mentioned last time that when you first talked to him, he seemed to show an interest in a young guy coming up and having a conversation with him until you started schooling him, and then his behavior changed, but. Like in his mind, it might be like, a guy can go up and ask a girl for a date and she says no, but then he becomes obsessed with her. You know what I mean? It could be that kind of situation. Like, ooh, look at this young guy. This might be my future boyfriend. Then he finds out, no, it's not going to work. But then he's like obsessed with you, like stalker mentality. Like some dudes have that problem. They want to ruin the person's life. It's the same idea when like in Pakistan or something like that, a woman doesn't do what a guy wants, so he throws acid in her face. It's so that she always remembers him, right? Because you can't. I'm not letting you forget about me. But that could be the kind of thing of like, hey, I'll keep messing with this dude and keep getting him in trouble and stuff like this, so he always knows that I have some level of control over him and I'm important, even though I'm this little squeaky.
So what you're saying to me, David Wood, is that when I get into prison because he keeps on using the police, when I have to take this grab for the soap, I'm remembered about Paul Williams' excellent body. Is that what you're telling me?
No, do not go to prison, dude.
It won't go well.
We'll be talking about that soon. We do want to take a couple super chats because some of them are comments and questions about you. What's up?
Hang on. So, young Bob, do you think that Paul Williams is romantically interested in you?
I can't say anything, man. Well, Adam, only Allah knows. But there's some fruity action there.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Would not surprise me at all. I'm just going through a couple of these real quick, putting them on the screen. Good afternoon, you guys. Want to get down to a couple that are for Bob. Love watching you guys. Thanks for putting in the time and effort to inform us. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the UK and how things are going and how messed up things are and what just happened to young Bob. AP, is that a Garkid shirt? Very based. Yeah, I got mine too.
It is. It's actually, I was very surprised IP sent it to me.
Yeah.
So IP made these Garkid shirts.
Yeah, but
and
why did he ruin it and say doesn't snitch? That's it. That's him trying to be linguistically correct. It's Garkid. Garkid ain't no snitch. But
I know, but
IP's probably like, oh well, that's a double negative, and ain't isn't technically the real word. It's more slang, and so let's get it completely correct and say Garkidry. It doesn't happen to be a snitch in reality,
and it doesn't have the same ring to it. You know what I mean? Yes, very, 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 very powerful. Here we have fellow based autistic. Love you all. I have Asperger's myself. Stay safe. Muzon Avery's live after the event said he's next. Oh, I'm sure we've all gotten messages saying we're next. I've gotten multiple messages saying I'm next. It's like, hey, if you guys say we're all next, you're not making any sense because we can't all be next. So quit.
Can I actually appreciate? I want to give a story to this, actually. So the COO and CEO of Turning Point UK, we were all doing speeches during the vigil for Charlie Kirk. And I noticed something because I accidentally got pushed into them. I felt something like heavy on their chest. Turns out they both got Kevlar vests. And they didn't give me one. It was just 2 days after the man just got like shot. And they were like, oh yeah, we really need protection for ourselves. And then like the young guy that are getting out to go to university campuses, like, no, we won't give him a Kevlar vest just in case, they shoot the two old guys. But the youth guy, who of course is what kind of embodies Turning Point UK, we'll leave him alone.
Maybe they're thinking because you're young, you'll be able to like dodge better and stuff or something like that than like an old guy. In other words, maybe they're like, these old guys are going to be too slow.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, I have to say over there, it is a different environment in that not a lot of guns. So what would actually happen over there? Would someone like just stab someone to death or something?
Well,
If there was an assassination.
You do. So assassinations politically are rare. You've only had like 2 politicians in our history actually be like shot in the same fashion that you guys are in the States. You do get quite a lot of gun violence here in the UK. Not as much in the States, but it is very much, if you're involved in a gang, you still have a firearm. It's just not as much reported. But yeah, violently being stabbed isn't fun either. And of course, comparing the legitimacy of Turning Point USA to the UK, we're incredibly more local. So you can get very close to us compared to any of the other Turning Point USA contributors. So we're more on risk in the fact that, getting knife to the throat would be incredibly easy compared to the distance that we have with a lot of the people with us.
Yeah, it would have been very difficult to get to Charlie like that, which is why someone had to use a rifle on a roof. But compared to that, so you guys wouldn't be in as much danger from guns because guns aren't as easy to get there, but it's way easier to get to you close up with knives or anything else. Are cat humans furries? That would explain a lot when the topic of furries came up because of the shooter, and then like half of the people in the chat knew everything there was to know about furries, which was really creepy. Hi AP, I want T-shirt like yours. Hey, what's going on? Is IP going to be have those available?
I don't know. Got to ask IP.
We'll ask IP. It seems he had these made, so he might have it available for merch at some point. When I grow up, I want to be just like young Bob. I'm 32.
Well, let's just hope you got your religion wrong and reincarnation does exist then.
Ex-Muslim Durham history student here. Advice on Islamophilic scholars. Bit older than young Bob. Very inspiring. Keep it up, brother. Ex-Muslim, that's good. Ex-Muslim Durham history student here. Advice on Islamophilic scholars. I would say learn what's in the sources and correct them when it doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to the Orientals. I look at a lot of the... honestly, I haven't really looked into this, but to be fair, if you just go through Christian persecution of Islam, especially the Oriental Christians, you'll find a lot of those sort of scholars in your field. But yeah, it's not something I've per se looked into.
Did you guys read While Israel Slept? Good book. No, I haven't.
No.
Sounds like something AP would read like 10 times.
While
Following
Israel
up
Slept.
Tucker's laugh matches, then you may take me to the fair from musical Camelot. Have fun. Thanks for all you guys do. You might want to check that out, AP, because that laugh needs to be put to stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be weird when you're 80 and we're still calling you Young Bob. That would be weird.
Yeah, if I live until I'm 80, to be fair.
I hope you do. It's like the Beastie Boys, right? The Beastie Boys came out when they were young, but then they got old and they were still called the Beastie Boys. Came up with a Tucker method: tragedy experienced, unhinged laughter, cherry pick evidence, kill common sense, explain it's the Jews, remain arrogant. There you have AP. That's the Tucker method. T, tragedy experience. U, unhinged laughter. C, cherry pick evidence. K, kill common sense. E, explain it's the Jews. And R, remain arrogant. It's not bad. It's not bad. Might need a little tweaking, but that's good.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Not
Bob,
the
thank
worst
you.
thing.
Well done. Keep going strongly. Keep spreading the truth.
I'm just going to start spreading misinformation now.
Hey, you'd be even more popular because that's what people love nowadays. British food should be considered a war crime. Hey, there are plenty of...
Hey. And it's Scottish food you need to consider a war crime, my friend. You're just not cultured enough. English food's okay.
Who doesn't love some filthy haggis?
No, it's not even that. Like deep fried, like battered pizza, a battered Mars bar. Like these like sick people, they just batter everything. They're crazy.
They batter their food. They batter their women. It's weird. Love you, Bob. So pleased to see you as a guest on our favorite boys show. That's what we do. Does anyone know a good book that explains the theological positions of the early church fathers? My girlfriend is a stubborn Protestant. Ah, good for her. Hey, what advice do you have, AP?
I just got into that recently myself, but I don't know. You can usually find the writings of the church fathers on New Advent, where you can find them all written out and typed out, and can read through them, which is a very, very good source. Specifically for the church fathers, I would just recommend researching it, looking it up. But one book that is that goes very early to the 1st and 2nd centuries is what is that? I think something like the Apostolic Fathers or something like that. I don't know. Got to look at that.
I mean, it depends really what like sort of Protestant you're into. To be fair, so for example, for my partner, a lot of her problems was because she was evangelical. A lot of her problems was like the Eucharist. So it was more like of the staunch liturgical practices of the church. So you really have to ask yourself, well, what sort of Protestant is she? Because if she's like evangelical, you're going to have more issues with the church, like in terms of its church practices, not in terms of its dogma. So I read like homilies on Exodus by Origen, and I kind of talked sometimes even about the Eucharist itself. So it really depends on what her problem is in Protestantism.
Yeah. What her problem, especially if she's an evangelical Protestant like Charlie Kirk, how are you going to correct her?
Oh, damn, man. Hey. I mean, I've been seeing suspicions online that that man could have been Catholic. He looked towards orthodoxy.
AP said, hey, man, he was really really attracted to orthodoxy.
So, here's the thing. So I want to say this again, since it's very very popular right now. So people like to claim Charlie Kirk for themselves, and I guess there's something nice about it because they love him so much. So they want to say, "Oh, he was one of us. He was one of us. He was almost one of us," and all that. But then the fact is just that Charlie Kirk was a very loving guy who really who liked all kinds of Christians. He loved the Catholics, he loved the Orthodox, he loved the Protestants, he loved the Catholic practices, the Orthodox practices, and Protestant practices. And we just listened to his one of his best friends speak about it. He said that he generally liked the traditional aspect and the liturgical aspect of Catholicism very much, which is why he liked going to Mass and liked visiting Catholic churches, for example. And recently got more interested in the Orthodox Church. I think actually, I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think it's pretty clear that as a result of watching my interview on Pints with Aquinas, he invited an Orthodox scholar on his show to then talk about Orthodoxy and to learn about that more, which was very, very, very nice, you know. And when he invited me to have a discussion with me, he said to me that that he thinks that it is a beautiful faith. However, until the last moment, he always affirmed that he is still an evangelical, despite his love for all these other
evangelicals, one faiths. True church.
So
I would say though, anyone who is political, unfortunately, just because I don't think a lot of the apostolic churches have kind of cracked modernism, it's always going to be difficult if you're a politician or someone who does content creation online to become Orthodox, just because, of course, to become a catechumen, then to be received into the church is so incredibly long that it kind of disenfranchises people. So they may have like this fantasy of joining the Orthodox Church, or how immutable the church is, or how so many young people are coming to Christianity through that particular denomination. But whether practically they can join, unfortunately, because we live in a tainted world, a lot of the time these things won't happen. Now, of course, when it comes to a man's death, everyone becomes superstitious of everything he does. Everything is studied. No one gives the plain reading of anything. And you even have Muslims now saying he was considering Islam. So I would take staunch criticism. I would just hold back on anything in terms of that claim of what denomination he would seek, unless to say he's a bit of an ecumenist, because he understands that a liturgical practice within the church, unlike our Protestant neighbors, kind of disciples men and disciplines them properly.
Disciplines men, not in the Paul Williams way, though. Bacon and eggs breakfast, now far right watch list. Yep, you got to be eating nothing but wheatgrass stew, wheatgrass juice, and so on. If you have bacon and eggs, you're an extremist. We know what Islamic sources say about young boys. Yeah, we do. There's an obsession. Aren't they implementing blasphemy law? We're going to talk about that. Here's the one I wanted to get to. Oh, wait, hang on. No, this one first. I thought these leaders were just really stupid, but at this point it seems they are purposefully destroying their nations. Why? I don't understand. We'll be getting into that here shortly. We're going to look at some of the recent stories out of the UK. Here's what I wanted to get to. Young Bob, can you please advise everyone exactly where is the best place to donate to you to help you out, as unfortunately there has been some misunderstandings. Keep it up, mate. Without lies, Islam dies.
Yeah, so with my legal fees, just because, of course, we'll get into this later, I was arrested just 2 days ago for full 24 hours and then released on bail. Right now, to donate, generally, crossandcorner.org/donate. It was an organization that I formed that I tried to launch just before I was kicked out. Then I've just relaunched it because things have, even though surprisingly you'd think they've become more unstable, they actually have become more stable. So I'm able to do more things with that now. In fact, just on the site now, after this, I'm going to launch, upload some videos exclusively to the site on some debate stands I've done on immigration. But if you go to /donate, everything that is donated there goes directly to me, and that will help with anything going forward. And in a few days, some people have organized a website to go fund my legal fees, because they will be a lot, because I don't fancy going to a youth detention center. That's incredibly scary if you think Islam's entrenched in the prison system.
Youth detention centers can be worse than actual prisons.
Yes.
So you do not want to go there. And my dad grew up in an orphanage that was bad enough, and the youth detention centers are, everyone who's familiar with the system knows those places are typically significantly worse. Who posted a GoFundMe for your legal costs? Where's that at? I want to include that in the...
Oh, we haven't set it up yet, just because it's been so recent.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let me know. Let me know when that. So in your, I have a link to your channel on X, and I have a link to crossandcorner.org/donate. So guys, if you want to support Young Bob, you've got that there. You should get on Patreon or something. Is there an issue with you being 17 or something?
Yeah, I did have a Patreon, but it was like I couldn't access anything because of my age. And I'll be able to fix it now just because I now have parents' access to me, because one of my bail conditions was you have to stay at the address that you got kicked out of, which again, it serves as more of an interesting story. I've got until the 30th of October to hopefully sort out my life to make this more sustainable and more full-time. And yeah, things will be quick. And they have to be quick.
Wait, so you got kicked out, but now you have to stay at the place that you got kicked out of?
Yeah, it was weird, because I was like, okay, this is the address I'm currently staying at. I told the officers this because I was like, where can we bail to? So firstly, interestingly, the place I got arrested to when I was doing the protests, one of the protests they were doing was that a migrant, an asylum applicant who was homeless, he made himself homeless, started breaking into schools. He got arrested, bailed, but he was homeless, so he had no address to go to. So it's absolutely within the legal system of the UK to firstly allow you to be bailed to any address or no address whatsoever. So they intentionally made it, firstly, one of my bail conditions to be here, which is very intentional, because they had access to my phone and my social medias. And secondly, to bail me to this address. And if I didn't stay here, and one of my conditions states every single night, and if the officers see that I have slept somewhere else, I'll be arrested and remanded until my court day.
Isn't the UK,
UK guys? The UK sucks, it sounds like. Nope, I did want to point this out here. Where'd it go?
Talking trash about the guy's country, man.
Here you go. What about give?
Oh no, it is right now terrible, man.
It's pretty bad. Terrible. Yeah, AP. Everyone knows it's bad, man. You think they don't know that? You think they're like, oh, we're too patriotic to say how much this place sucks right now? No,
it's a beautiful country, man.
Hey, Bob, pass this on to whoever is setting up the GoFundMe. Some people have an objection to GoFundMe because of things they've taken down in the past. They do seem somewhat biased. Give, Send, Go, much more Christian friendly. So I would recommend just setting up both. Whenever they're setting up one, set up the other, and then people have an option. If they like GoFundMe, they can use GoFundMe. If they like Give, Send, Go, they can use Give, Send, Go. But that you want to give people plenty of options on how to fund your legal fees and so on. Because, man,
because what will happen is they'll keep on rebailing you, and they'll keep on putting conditions on you, and they'll prolong it as long as possible to make sure that your legal fees as high as possible. They already originally rejected, because I had legal representation from 2 organizations, just because I'd already been networking ever since this has happened to me, this like line of censorship, and they straight up just rejected it. They were intentionally obfuscating contacting my lawyers that I gave, and they just gave me a duty solicitor who originally told me not to no comment anything I said. And if you know anything about UK law, is if you're accused of anything, no comment every single thing within your interview, because it's just there to establish what should happen to you after your interview. So should you be charged, should you not be charged, should you be on bail, and it only can be used not in your favor, to the detriment of yourself in a court appearance, whether you say things in your court that's inconsistent with your interview, and it's all used against you. So no comment everything. And duty solicitors, firstly, they barely speak any English, and secondly, they intentionally give you crap legal advice because they're supplied by the state.
Farhan here says, all of you will be Muslims one day. Inch. Yes. Farhan, as soon as we finally realize that the greatest man in history was a child molesting, murdering rapist, we'll be like, yes, we have to convert to this.
Inch.
After you unite the kingdom march, I have hope that the descendant of King Richard will not die easy. Wake up and fight. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, me and AP were backstage there, and we had some good fun laughing at the first thing I said to him, because we stared at the counter protest and there was a bunch of Palestinian flags. I was like, AP, the notorious supporter of Palestine, man, you should be right behind them. And unfortunately, they didn't accept them. I wonder why.
Hey, young Bob, any plans to visit Manchester?
I'm going to do a stand there, but I need to make sure. So, again, anyone who is American, the police system, especially for protests. So right now, a lot of the migrant hotel protests, the police cannot crack down the organizer of these events. So, for example, when they interviewed me, they keep on questioning me on if I was the organizer of these Epping hotel protests. So they will arrest a protester who is well known within the community. Then, if their bail conditions aren't, so they can't protest. Because, by the way, if you're released from bail, right, your bail conditions can be you cannot protest. I've had individuals on bail who can't post things on social media, who can't protest. You can't go in an organization more than 3 people outside of their family, so they can't go with their friends with more than 3 in a group. And if you go to a protest again whilst you're on bail, they'll try to arrest you for a similar sort of offence. They'll aggravate you. They'll just lie. They'll give you some ambiguous public order offence where, you antagonize this man, or you shouldn't be there throughout your duration of your protest. They'll arrest you, remand you into your court appearance, and essentially then you're in a holding cell for 3 months. So I need to be very careful, and I cannot stretch this enough. And this is a man who will lay down on prayer mats and tell Islam to go fuck itself. I need to be very careful on the type of company that I keep, and also the type of protests I go to going forward, because that will, of course, affect the outcome of my court.
Yeah, I want to say, Bob, I'm all in favor of going hard and laying down on prayer mats and ticking people off who deserve to be ticked off and stuff. But really, as someone who's been in multiple jails and multiple prisons, really, 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 really don't want you going to prison.
Powerful.
Or I mean, even worse, to some youth re-education camp, because those can be worse.
Yeah, they can be. because you have to be some disturbed individual to get arrested. Because juveniles, and this I've always had this luck. The first time I got arrested, they just instantly released me like 5 hours later. They prioritize juveniles to be released because, of course, they don't want young kids arrested. So you have to be some mentally disturbed individual to be arrested from a very young age. You either have to be in some unfortunate circumstances, or you just have to be psychotic and like have massacred your entire family. So you have that sort of crime, like the violent crime that is like you can't excuse, and then you have the sort of political crime that goes against the state, that the state tries to push against you, and they'll make sure that you're in prison for that.
And it's the same idea with Tommy, right? Like they'll say, oh, okay, here's this guy who was part of a grooming gang that drugged, pimped, raped, gang raped, and so on this young girl. We'll lock this guy up for 2 years. Oh, here's Tommy who's speaking out against that. We'll also lock him up and put them all in the same prison, and of course, and then they'll end up putting Tommy in a solitary and so on. But I mean, think about it. That's clearly, if you're the judges, the lawmakers, and so on, you understand this is not the same thing as what this guy's doing. But it's just a way of punishing the person. It's a way of silencing a person. Oh, this person thinks he can say things that we do not want him to say. Well, then we will lock this person up with the worst of the worst, and that person's going to learn really quick not to say things that we don't want him to say. So, yeah, that's a way of, it's just a way of, it's a way of stopping people from speaking against the machine there that's destroying your country. Boring politician said, remember to tell young Bob that the police aren't your friends, especially if they act like they are. Yeah, I don't know what the rules are over there, but, over here, you don't. Yeah, I don't even know how it works over here. Over here, over there. Over here, you have the right to remain silent. So it's generally understood. Police are going to try and get you to talk, and they're going to act like your best buddy, and they'll do things like play good cop, bad cop, and things like that. They'll pretend to be your best friends, but they're all getting information, and every information they're gonna be bringing up in court. And you're like, I thought that was my buddy, and now he's using all this stuff against me. Well,
they even do a similar thing with media now. I've had a Channel 4 guy follow me, and he's trying to stitch me up. The media do that as well. They adopt police tactics to make sure that, because one of the things that the establishment, and I use this term quite broadly, has always find it difficult to, is you have the institutions, you have the police, they can all be used against you, but the public can't. They didn't move with Tommy. I imagine they won't move with me. And they won't move with so many other people who are facing prison time. So the way that they used to try to, when the media actually had some legitimacy and the people actually watched it, was through stitch-up jobs, and they adopted the same tactic that the police did. They were your friends. They would ask for some information in a nice way, good cop, bad cop, that sort of situation. And they would clip up everything, and I've done that with other independent journalist friends that I know, and they've completely cocked them up. And they're trying to do a hit piece on me on Channel 4. So that should be interesting.
That should be interesting. These guys, your media over, I mean, we think we've got it bad over here. Yours sucks compared to ours. You're like everything we look at in the USA and go, man, this sucks. It's like, but it's always like, well, at least it's not as bad as it is over in the UK. Yeah. So everyone, if you're getting locked up, yeah, apparently you got to worry about people setting you up for various things. But if it's police, just say, all you're supposed to say is lawyer. Hey, what do you want to talk about?
Lawyer and no comment. No comment, no comment, no comment. And solicitor, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment. If you're in prison, and they even do this now. So the way I understand it is that no comments can't be used against you as long as you've no commented the entire line of questions within the interview. If you answer one and you no comment everything else, they can then put into question in court why you've selectively no commented one question whilst answered the other. You've clearly had the intention to say things and selectively be quiet on other things. So they'll say, to give you a line of questions, no comment, and then they'll say, do you want a cup of tea? And then when you give an answer of yes or no, that will be part of the interview. Then all the other questions that you've no commented can be put into question. So there's incredibly small and sly tactics like that will completely fuck you over in a court case.
Yeah. And I don't know how things work over there, but over here, another way is to answer every question with some version of D's nuts. Like you were saying, they would ask you, "Oh, did you organize this?" And they say, "Hey, did you organize this?" You go, "I organized these nuts," and just answer every question with that. Again, I don't know if that would work over there, but it works like a charm over here.
It's pretty childish.
Yeah, it is. All right, now let's go ahead and watch a clip of that was on your X page. This is young Bob getting arrested the other day, but let's go ahead and check this out, and then you can explain. You've already mentioned it, but you can explain a bit more to us.
My Uber, see that? At 6.
I can confirm the Uber was almost there.
So there.
What for? Section 14, mate. You've been seen protesting. You refuse to leave the area despite multiple warnings. You don't have to pay anything, mate. I'm going to you may later on in court. I was making attempts to leave. I had my Uber.
Great, the officers know how to turn off cameras.
What's that?
It's great that officers know how to turn off cameras. I've had this before when they arrested me. Like, you just have to completely edit out the fact that the officers just looking like mugs on the camera. How do I turn this off? Like,
I got arrested in Dearborn, and yeah, it was the same thing. They had trouble with cameras.
So are we all going to get arrested?
So, quick context there. I was arrested for Section 14 of the Public Order Act. I attempted to leave through booking Uber, and I was not part of an assembly or protest. I was booked in for 24 hours. Midway through the night, I was woken up, and they gave me even more bullshit charges, citing videos that I've done in the past. And my bail ends at the 30th of October. I'm not allowed in Epping, and there's a few others that I can't really go into detail now. All I'm going to say is, legally speaking, I am fucked. I don't know what to do in terms of legal representation. If it wasn't for the fact that I was able to crack a laugh in the prison cell, I would have gone insane. And yeah, the footage I clearly show you is, firstly, I left. Secondly, I wasn't protesting. And thirdly, if you were being charitable, I was obviously going to leave within that 6 minutes. So I don't know why the police have such an urge to arrest me. It seems quite loaded. And for me, I don't think you should just like waffle public order charges on a 17-year-old. If you want to make an example of someone, do it. So when the Essex police do get flack, it's not even more flack because you're doing it to someone underage.
And then going back, so you actually recorded yourself. Hey, I have an Uber. It is 1 mile away. What the heck is one?
It's 6 minutes away. So the reason why I wanted to show this is okay, so I don't know if this is an amazing concept. So in the UK, you have the legal right to statically protest. That means you can have a organized assembly anywhere on public grounds at any time. You don't need any permission. Now, during the Conservative Party rule, and this is why I don't think a lot of the Conservative Party are right-wing, they decided to introduce public order offences to limit and control your right to protest. One of them is Section 14. Now, Section 14 is limiting the area, the time, and also the equipment that is used at a protest. Now, they had that road that was where the officers were. That was the area that was sectioned, only that pavement. And even during my interview, they showed me the map. And the line of officers told me to leave. The section states that you must make an attempt to leave, which of course that was what the Uber was for. It was an attempt to leave the area. It was very clear. By the time they arrested me, there's other footage that's quite hilarious of me being walked out. Other people were filming, and they literally got stopped by the Uber that was waiting for me. So, and that's why they charged me the second time randomly in the night for another charge, because they noticed that the first charge they gave was incredibly bogus.
So hang on. Just to be clear, so they can tell you to leave, and the requirement is that you have to make an attempt to leave, but you literally have video footage of you trying to catch waiting for your Uber, which is an obvious attempt to leave. You literally have an Uber on your way, and you have video proof of that. And so you're saying that once they lock you up, they realize, okay, this is not going to work at all. We're going to go in there and say, he had to make an effort to leave. Oh, he's got video footage of him waiting on his Uber in order to leave. This will get laughed out of court. Therefore, we have to charge him with something else because we want to keep harassing this guy. Is that about right?
Yeah. And like when it came to the interviews as well, like they completely ballsed up. So I did a speech. So the static protest turned to a march. The march was on the high street, which was miles away. And I did a speech towards the end of the march, completely miles away from where the section was, right? I used a megaphone. Now, they used a recording and tried to argue that speech was given at the time of the section in the area that the section was in. So these officers, and if you go back to the recording, it's like, you have been seen protesting. My suspicion is this: they've completely fucked. So the way they do arrests in the UK typically is that constables go to their sergeants and ask, can we arrest someone and what can we arrest them for? My imagination is that the sergeant saw the video, didn't know when it was, then tried to arrest me because they saw me protesting what they believed was moments before they received the call to attempt to arrest me, then got me in the van, said, shit, that is in the high street, not near the Bell Hotel. And by the way, for any viewers wanting to know, this hotel, an Ethiopian migrant who claimed refugee status, even though there's no persecution going for gentlemen like that, sexually assaulted a 14-year-old of this area. And he's in a hotel because he's a refugee, and we keep these individuals, these people who we don't know where they come from and their documentation, in hotels that we pay for. He only got 12 months for raping someone, which is ridiculous. And they protested for it.
What do you think about that, AP? Starting to love your American citizenship finally instead of glorifying Turkey?
What do you want me to think about it?
Like, this area, by the way, has had that, and it's also had very recently, and this is how, compare what's going to happen to me. I could face 2 years in prison because the second charge I got done for was a hate crime, right? That is 2 years potentially in prison. The second one is a migrant who broke into 5 different schools, got released on the same day. Next day, did the same thing with 3 other schools and didn't even get arrested for breaking in schools. Only got arrested because he refused and jumped bail. And he's probably not going to get any prison time for it.
Who is Vodi, David? Who is Vodi? Who is Vodi?
He died today.
People are saying Vodi died. I don't know who Vodi is.
Yeah, that's because you're barely a cat human, man.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I'll go ahead and read a description. Legendary pastor, man. American pastor, author, and educator, served 9 years as Dean of Theology at African Christian University in Zambia, founding president of Founders Seminary in Cape Coral, Florida. Yeah. I never really followed him, but a bunch of people that I know and respect loved the guy a lot. So, yep. That's why we need young people, and they're trying to destroy them.
Well,
I believe the children are the future.
I've just released an article about this actually on my website. So the same website that the donation link got sent to. One of the first articles I've reposted with why young people don't do activism. And it's because we have this system called Prevent. Prevent is the counter-terrorism watchdog organization. And they are essentially now putting children on watch lists. Now, there was a case last year of an 11-year-old student, Jewish, was considered vulnerable and had said there was only 2 genders. He's now put on a terrorist watch list. I know a guy who put Colonel Gaddafi on his Instagram picture. He got labelled a threat to British democracy. He's 17. There's like young people are genuinely scared shitless for their future careers because they post mildly conservative talking points and immediately get shunned out by their social groups in schools, demoralized by their teachers, then reported as a genuine threat to British democracy. And that doesn't then just begin if you become vocal. The police then start to get involved. Social services then start getting involved, in which your parents then, because they don't want to get viewed as endangering you, probably will then immediately stop whatever you're currently doing. So there's so many hurdles for so many young people. And especially considering a lot of the times what I see is that people come to Christianity through politics because conservatism is conserving. What it's conserving is up to your religion. Now, Christianity is the most popular because it, kind of draws on the heart and the emotions of most young men that are going through so much at this current moment. So they're conserving Christianity. That is what it essentially reduces down to. So politics is always so powerful in bringing people to Christianity, and the reason why you're not seeing people, young people especially, although you're seeing an increase of young people turn to the Christian faith, your problem's going to be that now you have this terrible problem that they're not being discipled properly in Christianity because they don't have a political philosophy to then back themselves with it.
This is your website here.
Yes.
Why young conservatives fear speaking out. And then arrested twice at 17 years old. Yep, that's young Bob right there. They got him. They got young Bob. You could say they caught him. Public enemy number one in the UK. They're giving up on Tommy and just focusing on young Bob now, apparently. And then say no to digital IDs.
Which is a big thing now. To kind of roll back on IDs here to migration, they're going to forcefully mandate you to have a digital ID that they can keep tabs on you. So, and that is to counter immigration. It's been a thing for the longest amount of time now. It's just to ensure people are controlled. It's just another way of controlling their opposition.
And so everyone, you've seen young Bob goes to a protest. Police say, hey, you got to leave. So he gets an Uber to leave. And then they say, oh, we're arresting you because you didn't make an effort to leave. You say, hey, I'm literally waiting on my Uber. It's on its way. I'm obviously trying to leave. They lock you up anyway, and that's a common thing for police. They can lock you up based on anything, and then they root around and find something else. So we'll just say, hey, we're going to arrest you for this, and then that's not going to stand up. So while we've got him locked up, let's figure out something else to lock him up for that might stick better. And meanwhile, we have this story. Attacker of Quran burning protester is spared jail. So there was a guy. I think wasn't he Turkish? Didn't you guys interview him, AP? You and Hatun?
Yes, he was Turkish guy.
I'll go ahead and read the beginning of this article. We're not going to read the whole thing. Everyone else can check it out. But attacker, and then AP, you can break down the story a little bit. Attacker of Quran burning protester is spared jail. So this guy, well, let's go ahead and read it real quick. A Muslim man, surprised they identified him as Muslim. They would usually just say a man. But anyway, a Muslim man who attacked someone burning a Quran outside the Turkish consulate in London has been spared jail. Musa Kadri, 59, saw Hamit Koskan setting alight the text and shouted, "I'm going to kill you," before slashing at him with a knife. He later told police he was protecting his religion, Southwark Crown Court heard. Judge Adam Hiddleston handed Kadri a 20-week prison sentence, suspended for 18 months. Suspended for 18 months. In other words, if he doesn't get in any trouble for 18 months, then that goes away. But if he gets in trouble, then he's got 20 weeks suspended sentence. So they say, hey, 20 weeks, but we're not gonna do anything about it. We're not gonna send you to jail if you last 18 months or whatever, or 18 weeks or whatever that says. Then we won't lock. AP, you're sitting here on a show
Is
with
there a
young Bob.
you know, like Muslim cowboy? You know, he sells free Qurans that are like identical to the one you're currently ripping. Do you just rip off Muslim apologists who offer free Qurans and then just like rip them on camera?
Yes.
That's a good scam. And yeah, that's essentially fucked me for UK audiences. Thank you, jihadists. That's your justification video right there.
Yeah, that's going to be used against young Bob in court. It's going to be he's fraternizing with a Quran desecrator.
I condemn foreign agitators ripping Quran pages,
especially these deranged Turkish evil people.
Yeah.
Hey, young Bob, if it helps any, just say, "Oh, but he's Turkish. He doesn't know any better." But that wouldn't help because it only works with Muslims. Because the guy who got attacked was Turkish, and they let the guy get away with it. And so, yeah, AP, why don't you break down that whole situation because you interviewed the guy. We could read everything about it, but you could give us the important.
Yeah. He's working on the pyrotechnics on the Quran right now.
So the guy is he's from Turkey. He's of, I think, Turkish Kurdish origin or something like that. He wanted to, in the UK, protest against certain actions by the Turkish government and also by European governments, and as a result of that, set the Quran on fire while shouting certain slogans in protest against Islam and against Turkey and all that. So as he was doing that, there was a person of Muslim origin from the window shouting at him and saying, "I'm going to come and kill you, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you," and all that. And so this guy Hamid, he just continued with his protest of burning the Quran. Eventually that guy came out with a very visible knife. The knife is also on camera. So he came out with a knife in order to slash and, as he said it, kill him. Now, here is the thing. In the United States of America, if you attack somebody and you say, "I'm going to kill you," this is directly used as evidence for your intention to murder somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
especially for slashing at the person with a knife.
Yeah. Apparently in the UK, that's like, but he was doing it because he was feeling very hurt.
His feelings were hurt.
Oh yeah, the threshold for hate crime is literally whether someone feels anything about it.
So,
but whenever, just to be clear, whenever they make feelings a requirement, or feelings some sort of criterion, it's only certain feelings that matter. Like if you say, "Hey, I'm horribly, my feelings are very hurt over what's going on in the UK," your feelings don't matter. If this guy's feelings are hurt and he's a Muslim, his feelings really, 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 really matter a lot.
The funny thing is,
by the way, AP, if young Bob gets in trouble for what you're doing right here, you are responsible for all of his legal fees. I just want that known right here at the beginning.
Yeah, to be fair, it'd be pretty worth it. Imagine like admitting into evidence AP just like Turkish git and just lighting a Quran. It's like, yeah, I couldn't keep a straight face. Like they tried to do it in my interview room as well. Like they were playing recordings of me saying like we should deport illegal economic migrants. And they were trying to get me feeling sorry for myself, and I was just chuckling. I was like. They were trying to accuse me of being a white supremacist. I was like, I just simply do not care. I mean, if you come here with the expressive intention of exploiting a vulnerable system, firstly, it's like a hole in the fence. I blame the man for making the hole in the fence and not filling it in. But I also blame the man who went under the fence.
Not filling it in the Zoot sense, just to be clear. Go ahead.
And the Paul Williams sense, of course. They're one in the same. But yeah, you blame the man for going under the hole and also for not filling it up. You blame the government and also the supposed refugee for coming here in the first place. And it's not a hate crime. And this is what I think is astounding. Hate speech laws try to teach that saying things, the words physically being pronounced, somehow have meaning. It's not the meaning that you should be looking towards, the actual words being said, but rather what the person actually believes in. If you start policing speech, people are still going to believe in these things. In fact, it's going to be in an even worse way. I mean, for example, do you not see on the right this rise of ethno-nationalism, this concept that we can't have any legal migrants? It has to be purely the ethnicity of the native population. Now, that's an extreme that I don't hold to. I don't think it's a practical way of living. Now,
it's a reaction, though. It's a reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a reaction. People like the further you push in one direction, the further people push back in the opposite direction, and so on. And people become more extreme because it's a reaction to other people going insane.
It's like if you ban the N-word, sure, no one's going to exhibit publicly racism, but are people still going to be racists in their hearts? Of course, yes. People are still, if someone is racist, they'll still internally judge a black man and believe they're going to be less than the white man. A similar thing, words don't have meaning just because they simply leave your mouth. You can't police that. If you're actually going to truly do that, you might as well be Orwellian and try to police someone's thoughts. Like, I'm still going to believe, deport the Ethiopian who sexually assaults a 14-year-old because he's clearly not here because he's being persecuted. I could go to Ethiopia right now, no problem, or probably a problem, but not as big as one should need to go all the way to the UK, an island nation.
Yep, indeed.
So the guy was attacked. He was being slashed by that guy. He got his I think one of his fingers broken. He got his hands hurt and his body hurt and all that. Upon this, the attacker walked away, whereas the protester Hamid, who burnt the Quran, was taken to the hospital. But then at the hospital, he was actually arrested by the police. So he is picked up from the hospital and is arrested, brought before a court, and at the court he speaks about what happened. And there it is actually said that they cannot immediately confirm that the attacker actually came at him with a knife, which is very funny because it was directly on camera.
Yeah, so, I've seen that video footage.
And so there was also another individual with his bike there who was also holding him up and hit him with his bike. The bike got damaged in the process. That's how bad it was. So Hamid, the Quran burner, he goes to. He is arrested. He's released temporarily. However, he is brought to a secret, safe location by the police, where he has to stay for the duration of the investigations, and he cannot leave that place. And the court is, of course, very hostile toward him. He tries to explain that he did this in protest against a religion that is very barbaric, but the court itself starts arguing and fighting with him and treating him in a very hostile way. The results, as we have just seen, the results. Tell us about the results, David. What just happened?
That the guy who said, "I'm going to kill you," and starts trying to hack him with a knife, no jail time. No jail time. Young Bob is probably going to serve more jail time than for his Uber not showing up quickly enough. Because if the Uber had gotten there a couple minutes earlier, young Bob would have been gone. But they're going to go after young Bob leaving a protest harder than they will at a guy who was trying to kill someone for burning a Quran.
We legitimately need human rights conventions agreed by several nations that Islam is a religion that can be critiqued and also subjected to the same form of criticism that other religions have, that people, when they instances like this, they can appeal to. Because for me, if you burn the Quran, if you do anything towards this religion, like, for example, there was a teacher, I think 2 years ago, who drew a picture of Muhammad. He's still in hiding. He's still not been left out of hiding, because if he is found, he will be killed. So point being is that we need to legitimately have this convention agreed by several developed westernized countries that we can appeal to as apologists, as any politician who speaks out against Islam. And interestingly enough, the only politicians right now in the UK speaking out against Islam is people in the House of Lords. And the House of Lords is a position within government that you can only achieve through being a lord, which is typically either given to you by a prime minister or inherited from your father. And you can't no one can remove your lordship, right? So the only people who speak about Islam are the people who know they can't get in trouble for saying anything about it.
I think the solution should be very different. I think there is at this point with travesties, with perversions like this going on, where the native population and the native religions and the native culture are being treated in a hostile way by the government in charge, whereas a foreign, subversive, violent, barbaric religion is defended and gets special privileges, and its defenders and advocates get special privileges. I mean, think about it. We just talked about prevent. Just talked about how people are put on a list for simply making simple online posts or saying something offensive and all that. Meanwhile, in the UK, you can literally say, "I believe in establishing an Islamic State and killing apostates," and you will not be put on that list. You will be completely treated as an okay person. Everything is all right. You will not get in any trouble. We know the examples. We know that they don't get in any trouble. So unfortunately, this is what the United Kingdom has become. And